Hello, everyone, and welcome to the greatest show in the galaxy, the Star Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
And my name is James. How is everybody doing this weekend? But before we go on, David, you have some names to thank because I always jump the gun every time we start recording.
You and everyone else, our top tier Patreon supporters Hayden Hauser, Darth Ace 1, Liam McCallan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Maya Morris, Maka Tautala, Adam Haber, Brad Mackey, Front Row King, and Darth Beard. Thank you so much for all your love and support. We love you guys. Can't say thank you enough. Such
Darth
awesome
Beard.
love and support. Yeah.
Darth Beard, man. I'm just never gonna get over the fact I did not utilize that name whenever. But I've actually shaved my I don't know if you can tell. I've trimmed my beard up a little bit, so
Yeah.
can't really brag about
Nice.
the beard right now.
So, what do you think in chat about James's beard?
Yeah, what do y'all want
Is
us
it
to talk
Star
about?
Warsy enough? Does he need to Star Wars it up? Maybe we need to create a poll. I don't know.
Did you see my shirt? It's directed by Irvin Kershner shirt.
Now I
I've
can't
only
buy
had
that shirt, James,
what was that?
because you have it. I can't buy that shirt anymore. I can't wear it. I was gonna wear it in Japan.
Whatever. Knock it out.
Gosh.
Bender is in the house. What's
I'm
up,
wearing this
Bender?
shirt.
That's a good shirt. I ordered one. I think I canceled it once. I wasn't gonna go, but I still got my Lucasfilm limited shirt from that celebration, so that was pretty cool. But
That was awesome.
whatchamacallit? So what do you want to talk about?
What we talked about earlier that we were going to talk about.
Oh yeah.
The latest news.
Yeah,
latest
exactly.
Bleeding edge news.
What you got?
So Amanda Stenberg made an Instagram post, and I think a lot of us already seen it. I saw it on Twitter, and it was actually two posts. It was very, very lengthy, very long. I just got a text. Yeah, she was talking to the camera. I think she was doing her hair, and she basically talked about, I think, everything we kind of knew and assumed. So there was really nothing new there. She did put a little emphasis on the naysayers out there, how it was difficult in some situations dealing with that and an experience unto itself. And she talked about how, like, social media is a thing when you are in a Star Wars show, and there's a certain level of vitriol out there. And I think she kind of, this is in kind of summation, she was just hoping to do a season 2, but she felt like it wasn't going to happen. And we talked about it last podcast how season 2 for the Acolyte was going to happen while D23 was happening, and apparently Manny Jacinto was told not to say anything about it. And then all of a sudden, things turned around, and Disney decided to say no season 2. But apparently, we were going to get a season 2. It was in the can. It was supposed to happen. And now you think about Manny Jacinto going to Japan in 2025 April celebration. What's he going to really talk about? Is he going to talk about Acolyte season 1? And I mean, that's it. I mean, it's kind of an odd thing. I want to say that, and this is just speculation on my part, that Manny Jacinto is going to continue on without the show. Of course, he would maybe think so. I think he was one of the breakout stars. Of course, we have to talk about Plagueis. We have to use Plagueis in the future at some point. Plagueis is eventually going to come up, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
And hopefully Amanda Stenberg gets the show back up as the Acolyte or the pseudo apprentice, whatever you want to call it. So I'm thinking that Manny Jacinto is going to be around, and yeah, he's going to be at Star Wars Celebration, and I'm going to tell him as much. I'm definitely going to get his autograph, probably photo op too, because I thought he was just terrific.
Oh yeah,
as the Stranger, which I really wish they gave him a Darth name. I mean,
because he's not a Darth yet. You know what I mean? Like, or you know what I mean? I don't think he is a Darth.
Well, you're going to be an apprentice and be a Darth, right? Darth Maul was the apprentice of Darth Sidious.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. He should have had at least something, or maybe he wasn't quite there yet. You know what I mean? Maybe he wasn't.
Well, we got Qimir.
Yeah.
Qimir.
Yeah,
which is
but
odd.
Darth Chimera sounds actually pretty cool. I think we're gonna coin the phrase that's what his name.
Okay, so what Darth name would you give Manny Jacinto's character? Come on, James, right on the spot. What comes to your head?
Darth. Honestly, with like
Darth Honesty?
Darth. I mean,
I'm thinking Darth Ravenous.
that's pretty good. Darth Ravenous, I think.
Lord
works.
Ravenous. That's
Lord
the first.
Ravenous.
That's the first name that came to my head.
Savage
Darth
would be,
Ravenous.
Savage would be pretty cool, but or Savage. You know what I mean? Like something's like.
Yeah, it's too close to Savage Opress.
That's pretty good though. I really hope we see that character again, and I really hope, like we said last time, speculation was that it's the Acolyte itself is not going to get a season 2, but the next series is actually going to get. It's going to be called something else when it comes up. Like it'll be maybe the Disciple. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be something else besides the Acolyte. So
okay, well the Knights of Ren stuff, the little theme that played in the background. He is the genesis, possibly, of the Knights of Ren.
Dude, it was the genesis. There's no way it was not the genesis of the Knights of Ren. Like his helmet is shaped like Kylo Ren's, and like other members of the Knights of Ren, he's wearing a helmet. You know what I mean? Like, so did they. It was totally going to set up the Knights of Ren. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that was where it was going to go. And my prediction was Plagueis would tell him the plan. And then Chimera would be like, I'm out. I don't want any part of what you're about to do. And so I think he goes and forms the Knights of Ren. And then Plagueis then finds Palpatine. I think that's the way they were going to go. And then Chimera would go off, and then he would be doing his thing as the first, Knight of Ren. So,
man, that introduction of Cortosis was sick, man. The helmet, headbutting lightsabers. It's like, whoa.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. That whole fight was incredible. Like I was just blown away by that.
No one predicted it. No one saw that coming.
No. And then plus you in the previous episode with him, doing that crazy force push, which was just was the coolest. Such a great way to end that episode. But it's just a bummer. It's just a bummer. I really hope we see more. I really hope we see more of the story because I think it's great. I think it was really, really interesting.
Okay, you have your Star Wars hat on. Put your president of Lucasfilm.
Okay.
Theoretical, hyperbolic, virtual hat on.
Yeah, hyperbolic. Yeah.
What would you do? What would be the next move? Okay, so Acolyte season 2 is canceled. What are you looking to greenlight? And we can't talk about what you talked about the past and what you've talked about as far as like the animated series with the original characters. What's your next move outside of the original trilogy? Not necessarily outside of the Skywalker saga stuff. I mean, do you just dive straight into the Plagueis lore? Do you dive straight into Young Palpatine Chronicles? Do you do Calrissian Chronicles? You tell Donald Glover, I don't care what you're doing on Amazon Prime. You belong to us. It's our turn.
I think it'd have to be Plagueis. I think it would have to be his story now because they introduced him and there's so much potential with what you can do with his character and how he possibly helps Palpatine plan ahead. You know what I mean? Like he helps him with the whole plan of what Palpatine's ultimate goal was. I mean, there's so much that you could do with him, and that seems like a slam dunk. And then plus everyone was really happy about it. Everyone was really excited that we got to see him finally. I think that should be enough for if I were the president to say, okay, well, this is what the audience wants, so let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and start.
So we saw Plagueis and Yoda in the finale. Now, do you somewhat retcon them two maybe possibly fighting and meeting each other?
I think there's a way to do it, which is
what's up? Yeah. There's always a way, yeah.
There is a way. Yeah, I think you could do it. And it wouldn't mess with any of the lore. You know what I mean? I mean, everything we have of
basically
Plagueis
what they've
now,
been doing since who knows? Since Disney bought Star Wars, I guess.
Exactly. So I think having them fight, and then my thing was have them fight, Palpatine sees Plagueis lose, and then then that night, Palpatine kills him in his sleep because he's so disappointed in his master for losing to Yoda, that he kills him, and now he then takes over. Now he's going to start his, which makes the fight at the end of in the Revenge of the Sith mean much more now to Palpatine, that he defeats Yoda, and Yoda can't defeat Palpatine because Yoda's ego would be kind of like, well, I defeated Plagueis, I can totally defeat the
Okay, so would it jive if Yoda and Plagueis do a lightsaber duel and Yoda really messes up Plagueis?
Yeah.
And then we work it to where Plagueis is severely, like almost mortally injured. And that's when Palpatine,
Yep.
in his sleep, takes him out. That'd be so great.
Right?
I mean, that's a detail Palpatine would leave out, of course, but I mean, you could totally work that in there, man.
Oh, yeah.
Plagueis is really powerful if he's really hurt, almost like a la Kylo Ren versus Finn in the snow, you know? Kylo Ren's in there shot in the side by the bowcaster. And yeah, that was enough to help Finn, who was not trained with the lightsaber, to kind of
hold his own for a bit.
Yeah,
give Rey enough time to wake up.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. And like I said, everyone loves seeing Plagueis at the end of the Acolyte. So it's like, come on, just do it.
Got the people going, James.
It's provocative. Got the people going.
Exactly. You smell what I'm stepping in.
Yeah, totally. And then so I hope, like I said, I hope this Acolyte, what the Acolyte has started, doesn't end. I really hope it goes for at least a couple of more seasons, because like I said, I really enjoyed it.
You talking about the Acolyte?
Yeah, Acolyte.
If you were president.
If I was president.
I don't like the fact that they killed Jackie and Yord so quickly. I was getting really accustomed to them. I was really, I wouldn't say be getting attached, but I wanted to see more of them.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see that dynamic because, I mean, Jackie had like a thing with Yord, like you've messed up in the past. I'm much more seasoned, much more wiser in a sense. And I mean, you could just tell that from the acting, the dialogue plus the reactions they had to each other. And then just the acting by Charlie Barnett was really good as Yord. And people like started like fandom groups called like the Yord Horde. And then all of a sudden, of course, we all know, spoilers for Acolyte, he gets killed along with Jackie. And I think there was actually like a group of fans for Jackie that had like a little like catchy name to it. But yeah, man, Daphne Keene. I mean,
so good.
So technically, I mean, they made her into an alien, so they could technically bring her back.
No, it was.
You don't think so?
Oh, I mean, they could bring her back,
character, but not an alien. You know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant the actual character, and I was going to say no.
No, that's way too shark jumpy.
Yeah, but I know people thought that her and Osha were like, there was like something between them.
Maybe a thing.
And
that was
I just remember when Jackie got killed, I like yelled. I was like Luke Skywalker at A New Hope, like, no! You're like, I was just distraught when Jackie got stabbed. I was like, it was a shock, because it was like, oh, this is not, this isn't a game. You know what I mean? Like, this is serious. This is pretty serious.
Yeah, for sure. Have you seen any Acolyte merch out in the wild at all?
No, I haven't seen it. Well, then again, I don't get out as much as I used to, but no, I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen people wearing, like, on TikTok or anything. Nobody's wearing Acolyte stuff or anything.
Yeah. So when I went to the first 2 episode theatrical presentation thing they did, I actually brought home a bunch of posters.
Oh, nice.
And they're actually pretty decent. They're not like the very thin paper. They're kind of thick, almost kind of like poster board in a way.
Yeah. They I have a few. I think I have one of those up here. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty tough. Maybe like the Batman IMAX you have in the back there.
Yes.
Possibly.
Yeah. It's not paper.
It's durable.
Yeah.
And Colin asked me to save one for him, and I was totally expecting to give these away at Superhero Comic Con, but people just never asked for them. So I have a few. I'll probably take them to SpaceCon. That's probably more of an appropriate place to maybe
Agreed.
hand them out. I gave one away at Rebel Scum Con to a little girl, and I asked her. She was just kind of there at the booth, like looking at stuff, and she looked at me, waiting for me to say something. And I just simply asked her, "Do you like the Acolyte?" And she said, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Would you like a poster?" And she said, "Yes."
Oh, that's
And
great.
so I reached into my my it's a Husky toolbox. It's a big Husky toolbox with
Yeah,
wheels.
the chest. Yeah, the big old.
Yeah, yeah. So I had them on the sidewall, and I pulled one out, and that's the only one I gave out.
Hmm.
And then I had them at Superhero as well, and yeah. So I have a few of them. If you see us at SpaceCon, hit us up, and I might have one or two available. So what's
Yes.
the next news item, James?
I mean, I don't think there's much news that happened between what the her message yesterday or a couple of days ago.
Well, Ahmed Best came out on Instagram, and he said that he totally backs up people that in the arts that give 110% of themselves to the arts.
Hmm,
And he had Amanda Stenberg's picture as OSHA slash May there.
that's awesome.
And I think it's really great to see other Star Wars actors having other Star Wars actors' backs.
Yeah.
And I don't think we really see enough of that. And it's interesting when you really think about that in the history of Lucasfilm, because we've had situations like this occur, and you kind of think to yourself, well, wait a minute, maybe they don't have to say anything because it's a non issue.
Hmm.
But then again, it's like, well, it's kind of all over social media and it's being talked about. And I don't necessarily think that people are looking for other actors or Star Wars personalities, people that work for like notable Star Wars people
Hmm.
to come out and say something. But I kind of would like other Star Wars notables to come out and have more people's backs in regards to some of this stuff, because it's so prevalent today. And
Yeah.
I mean, just to hear or just see a post like Ahmed Best did. I mean, Ahmed Best. I mean, I don't think anyone went through more than what he did. Maybe aside from Jake Lloyd. Um, so I mean, he's got the experience, and whenever you have a chance to meet him, meet him. He's a tremendous guy, very smart. Um, a lot of people don't know this about Ahmed Best. I didn't know it. He's a very busy guy. Um, he's actually teaching classes
Oh.
at a very high profile university. Um, and I think it actually might be USC.
Oh man.
So yeah, if you register at USC, you might actually take a class from Ahmed Best.
That would be
Um,
the
but
ultimate.
don't
You know what I
quote me
mean?
about USC. It might be another school.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember exactly, but I asked him when I met him at Rebel Scum Con. Um, I'm not sure how I asked him, but he gave the information that I'm actually doing this, this, and this, and he talked about theater a little bit. And I believe he's still acting, but he's like my full time job is, and then he talked about his teaching role, and I was hoping to get an interview with Ahmed
Mm.
back then, but I was the only one at our booth, and I had to like tend our booth on the show floor at Rebels Come Con. Hopefully at SpaceCon, maybe I can get in there and talk to him just a bit.
Oh, that'd be
Record
great.
that, even if it's just for a few minutes, and chat with him because he's a really cool guy, and he's a really big dude. Like he's
Yeah,
a
you were telling
muscular
me.
guy. Like when I went to San Diego Comic Con, I would see all these actors, and they're like very slight. Ahmed Best is a pretty solid guy.
That's
um,
awesome.
so yeah, he'll be at SpaceCon, and we're still talking about SpaceCon. That's going to happen second weekend before, or the last weekend before Halloween in October, and that's in San Antonio. And we're forcing James to go. He'll be there. Um, He'll be right by my side, next to a Wookiee,
Oh yeah,
perhaps a slave Leia, perhaps a Vader.
it's not. We're not talking about the same person wearing those outfits. So,
No, Colin will not be cosplaying as slave Leia. I just
no,
want to
but
clarify
man,
that.
the joke you should have said was Colin will not be cosplaying as Darth Vader. Okay, guys. I mean,
Well, no,
come
I
on,
wanted to
James.
reassure people because you're gonna make people like second think it, you
Okay,
know.
yeah, just
So
yeah,
yeah. Colin will be
Chewbacca.
the plan is yes, he will be our favorite
But
Wookiee.
he
Chewie.
dressed up as Boba Fett for the that wasn't he dressed up as Boba Fett?
I've never known him to dress up as Boba Fett,
Dude, he
like a
sent
screen
us a
accurate Boba Fett.
yeah, he sent us a picture. He at Magic whatever he's at right now.
Oh, Dragon Con. No,
Dragon Con.
he made his own custom Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That's not a
Okay. I
that's not
apologize.
a
His custom
canonized
Mandalorian that
Mando.
looks awfully like
Yeah, I think
Boba
the
Fett.
color scheme is like blue and green though.
Anyways, but yeah, I thought he was also going to be here as a Mandalorian as well.
He might be.
Nice.
I told him he should drive down instead of fly, and then he can bring all his cosplays because he's got a few.
Bender said something funny about the Acolyte. He goes, I think if Theory didn't make any videos on this show, it would be more popular. Bender said it, not us. Sorry, just so
Yeah,
you know.
it's a curious thing to me because I didn't think the Acolyte was that bad. I mean, there were so many weird kind of criticisms
critiques
before anyone even saw an episode, and then when people saw the first two episodes. I mean, if you take yourself out of the Star Wars bubble that we're in and just watching it as like a normal like fan of science fiction fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
I can maybe see how you're like, okay, well, there's not enough action. This doesn't feel like Star Wars. I'm not going to watch it. I could see that. But if you just kept with it and then got to the actions, the lightsaber stuff, I mean, it's a catch-22 in a way because Disney Plus releases episode a week type release schedule, and a lot of people are used to Netflix where they can just binge the whole thing, which that's not great for podcasters like us. It's a whole lot better if we get an episode, get to talk about it, do pre-show, post-show, analyze it, break it down, find Easter eggs, that type of thing. But a lot of people are just not patient, and a lot of people will tell you, I was waiting for that thing to end so I could just binge it, and I didn't want to like.
Yeah, I heard so many people say that, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, and then Disney looks at the numbers while it's airing, and they're like, oh, nobody's watching it. And it's like, jeez.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Anyways.
I thought you were going to say back to Deadpool.
Bender says it would be cool if we got a murder mystery if it was in Coruscant in the lower levels. That's like Blade Runner. I would watch that. That'd be pretty cool.
You know, it would be nice to see even a new filmmaker come into Star Wars and have in kind of like Trojan horse Blade Runner in there. And then you get level 1313, that defunct LucasArts game that looks so cool, man. You got the third person play as Boba Fett and the more shadier parts of Coruscant. Man,
I got this whole idea that just popped in my head. Like you do a whole movie about that, and it's about a guy looking for a spy that lives there. And it's during the time of the original trilogy. So during the rebellion, and you have somehow you have somebody looking for a spy who's giving the rebellion the imperial information, and it's just about this. I don't know, like just the idea of tying it into the original trilogy, making it dark, making it just a whole detective story that's all on its own. But then there's also like the bigger picture, which is the Empire and the rebellion.
There's opportunity right there to run into characters from Andor too.
Yeah,
you
just these people who are like deep underground, but they're also helping fight, the Empire. And then just this guy is on this job there, and he has to find him, and it's just a Blade Runner-esque, detective story.
Yeah, I dig it.
Thank you.
And I think we have Blade Runner on our mind because of Alien and Ridley Scott, how he picked his own movie as one of the greatest movies of all time.
Oh, that was such a. And apparently, Harrison Ford was not too happy working with Ridley Scott because, yeah.
And the funny thing is, when he did Blade Runner 2049, he was asked which one of your films are the favorite, and he will always list out Blade Runner.
Yeah.
So it's like, what? It's like, how? Why? Who?
Yeah.
And when I was little, and there's no internet, there was just random cable TV. There was a commercial. I don't know if you remember it, but it was a commercial, of course, before the internet, to buy anime from Japan, straight from Japan. And you would see clips of the different anime. And it was the big voice guy doing the narration, talking about like hyping it up and trying to get you to buy the anime. And he has a phrase in there. I'm paraphrasing here, of course. But he says something along the lines of more groundbreaking than Blade Runner. And I heard that when I was a little kid, and I was like, "What's Blade Runner?" I'm like, "What's this Blade Runner thing?" He says, "Is that another anime? What is it?" And for whatever reason, my family, well, I mean, it's rated R, but and there's nudity in it, so they're not gonna let a little kid watch it. But after like years and years and years, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is Blade Runner." I don't know how I missed it at the video store, but I discovered that Harrison Ford was in it. I was like, he was in this between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, or was it after?
I can't recall. I think it was after.
After the original trilogy? Okay.
Yeah.
Directly after, then.
I have to
because
look
you
it
still
up.
look like Han Solo aged. But over the years, I've watched that film, and it's grown more and more on me. The
Between
soundtrack,
Empire and Return. Just saying. Yeah.
that's what I said initially.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I get full kudos there.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Yeah.
I get full Star Wars Stuff podcast points. Yeah, I mean, it's a movie that gets better with age.
Oh yeah.
The soundtrack, I listen to it all the time. The
That
Vangelis soundtrack.
that opening just oh my gosh, such a good. Like that movie's just incredible. Like I don't understand. I actually didn't watch Blade Runner until I was in college. I'd
Me
already
too.
graduated from high school,
Me
and
too.
I remember reading that whenever Christopher Nolan was making Batman Begins, he showed everybody Blade Runner, and he goes, "This is how we're gonna do it. Like this is the style I'm going for." And I was like, Blade Runner, and then I saw pictures of it, and I was like, that looks like what is like this looks like the most fascinating movie I've ever seen. And then I watched it, and then I was just blown away. I was like you said, it gets better every time you watch it. It's such a cool story.
It's so funny now being in 2024. It says Los Angeles 2019. It's like full of pyramids and
Yeah,
billboards that are animated and projected. And,
colonies up in space, and
yeah, that was
yep.
that was so interesting that they talk about that, but they never show it.
Yeah, I love it. That's one of my
Yeah,
favorite things about it. And then what I know we're talking about Blade Runner, everybody. Like, don't
yeah. It's
don't be
against the
mad at us.
rules. Don't tell our boss. But
Yeah, but yeah, that movie is just great. Yeah,
and yeah, over time, it's gotten its accolades and being held in super high regard as like peak 20th century cinema, but it didn't do so great initially.
Oh yeah, it did
By
terrible.
the critics, the box
Well,
office
yeah,
was
because
great.
the original, I know we're talking about Blade Runner, but yeah, the original cut of the movie, they had to go in and they added a voiceover, and Harrison Ford did not want to do the voiceover, so he's just in there talking like Harrison Ford. Like there's no acting, there's no nothing, and it tanked. It did really bad, and then years later, Ridley Scott was able to recut it, and then that's why there's the director's cut, and the director's cut was like the best for a very, very, very long time. And that's the one that I watched. And that's the one that I fell in love with, and everyone else did. But then there's like now the definitive cut, which adds
I
just
think
a
it's called
couple
the final cut,
Oh, the final cut, which I've
and that's
actually
the
never
one I
seen.
watch.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've never seen that one.
That's what I bought on Apple because apparently someone out there on the internet said that is the best version.
Oh, man. All
So,
right.
and it is really good.
I guess I
It
have to
is
watch
really
it
good.
now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, such a good science fiction.
So yeah, so if you're a fan of the Acolyte, I mean, the Acolyte could be kind of like Blade Runner, that it finds an audience later down, and that's
Later,
what we
yeah.
talk about with the sequel trilogy.
Oh,
It happened with the prequel trilogy, guys.
it's
Everyone
actually
hated on it, and then it came back around, and everyone loves it now.
I've been, I get on threads and I follow a lot of Star Wars people, and the I'm reading a lot of the comments are like, okay, enough times passed to say The Last Jedi was actually one of my favorite Star Wars movies. And then you look at the comments and other people are like, yes, oh my gosh, I love this movie. And I'm just reading and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Then other people are like, I watched The Rise of Skywalker and it's not as bad as I remember it being. And everyone, like, yes, I don't know why people hated it and blah 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 blah. So it's starting already. I think this appreciation of the sequel trilogy and everything, because I think enough time has passed for we can now look at the movies as 9 movies and then just be like, oh, that's the story, and then accept it. But I mean, I think it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna happen more time goes by. The sequel trilogy will be just as loved as the prequels.
So you have a The Rise of Skywalker hat on.
Yeah, I do.
I don't think I've seen that hat. Have you worn it before?
And I don't think I have ordered it on the podcast,
Not on
but
the
I got
podcast.
this at Disneyland because this was right before this one came out, so they had it there at the park, and I bought it, and I was so happy. And I still love this hat. Like, this is one of my favorite hats. So
So back in Chicago, 2019, we were all scrambling to buy the Rise of Skywalker T-shirts
oh,
because they had just released the name. We didn't have the name yet. We just had Episode 9, and yeah, I wear that shirt and I think about that all the time.
I
Thinking about Chicago.
I have the Last Jedi one that I got from Orlando, and that's the one that I'm like, this is great. Like I barely wear it because I don't want it to fade.
Oh,
And
come on, you gotta wear it, man.
but then I had the Rise of Skywalker
Special
one.
occasions.
I had to buy after Celebration because they sold out within like 2 minutes of having the shirt. So I had to like buy it later, and I was really sad that I didn't have it there at the.
And I think it was after we did our epic runs of merch buying too.
Yeah.
And
Oh
then we're like,
yeah.
oh, we got to go back and buy more.
Gosh, oh man, I spent so much money.
I think
shouldn't
I
have spent.
almost spent close to $800 in the Celebration store.
I
And
spent
I didn't have $800.
close to four. I think it was either 400 or like in the mid four, like 450. Like it was. She rang it up, and I just went, oh. I was like, what? It's like, ma'am, I think you did something wrong. You have to bring this up again, please. But yeah, that again, I go back to the whole mystery box approach. Like, I mean, it's kind of wild. They waited until the year of to show us the title of the new movie. Like, I just,
Well,
we're
maybe
gonna
they
get
didn't have
hyped.
it
I always
yet.
tell people, we always say we're gonna get hyped no matter what.
Right.
But it was a cool reveal. It was a cool reveal to see the rise of Skywalker. Like, that was such a
And then Ian McDermott walking out.
wrote it again. Oh, that was great.
I thought it was John Williams walking out because
I know
we
you
were
did.
far away, and I was looking at the stage, and I saw an older gentleman walk out, and I'm like, John Williams, Williams.
And I was like, no, it's not.
Like, shut up, David. It's not John Williams.
It's not him. That was so great. That was a great trailer. Like, that whole thing was was good. And I think within a couple of years, the Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi are going to be really beloved amongst like the future fans and everything.
The grandkids.
Well, maybe not even the great. Okay, what you got?
You're like, well, so yeah, you addressed on TikTok.
Here we go.
Finn. So you just mentioned some of the mystery box stuff, but yeah, it was an unfortunate situation where they kind of hid the fact that Rey was the primary protagonist of the sequel trilogy, and they didn't really have to do that. And a lot of people, especially a certain community, thought they were getting the promise of the first main character Black Jedi, and a lot of people were let down by that when it didn't really happen. So I think we're all hoping that John Boyega does come back in hopefully the Ray film. Um, he just released an Instagram or something on social media where he's working out. Dude is super athletic,
Well, yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, like he's like working out like like a professional athlete. He's doing like high jumps over like
Jeez.
these mini like hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
He goes through it. It's like 8 hurdles. Turns around, does it again, and then does it again, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is he training for?
I know people have thought about him playing James Bond, um, but if he gets James Bond, like he's not coming
He
back to
never
Star
come
Wars.
back Star Wars.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do anything for
Gosh,
Star
yeah,
Wars.
I mean, yeah, man.
I
Yeah,
think it'd be great.
he
Like
wouldn't have to change his accent. I mean,
people would be very confused. They'd be like, "Wait, what?" but but yeah, I just have this image of him and Ray standing next to each other holding lightsabers, and it's like you release footage like that, people are gonna flock to the theaters to see that because that's cool. Like that's what we want to see. And in case y'all don't know, on Facebook, I put that the reason it was such a disappointment was because like David said was pretty much how they didn't want us to know Ray was the hero, even though they released the poster, the main poster, and there she is front and center, like bigger than life. And I remember when I saw that first poster, I was like, "Oh, this girl is not just the Leia of the story; she is the main person of the movie." And her on the poster holding a lightsaber, I think, still would have been really cool. I think we all would have been excited, wondering who this person is, and I still think it would have worked.
all right, James, you got to put your box office hat on now.
Oh boy, here we go. How many hats are you gonna make me put on tonight, man? Gee,
Several.
anyways.
I'm gonna totally undress you and redress you here.
All right, what do you got?
So we all know what happened with Solo. It wasn't an episodic film. This new Ray movie is not going to be an episodic film. We think could be episode 10. Who knows? Um, I'd be all for an episode 10. But if it's not an episodic film, what kind of box office do you think it will do? Because like I talked about the normies before, the normies will show up to an episodic Star Wars film no matter what. It'll make $1 billion no matter what. I don't know about now because we just went through the sequel trilogy and people have their opinions. But of course, the box office, it every single film. The Force Awakens made $2 billion, I believe, and then every successive film made $1 billion. Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. What do you think the Rey film is gonna do?
I think it's gonna do a lot better than you think because the movie comes out. We're saying this one is gonna be the 2027 or
Okay,
2026.
let me throw out some variables. Right,
Okay.
2026, December.
Okay.
2026. That's
Oh,
what we're
that's right.
thinking.
That's right.
Mando Grogu, May, the Rey film, Christmas. So Christmas movie. So if Rey is the only familiar element in this film, Rey with Jedi we don't know. We get the lightsaber stuff. What kind of box office? If I'm okay, so she's going to be aided by the fact that it's going to be at Christmas time because kids are off from school, vacation, it's Christmas, super big holiday to go to the cinema. It's going to get a boost from that. So, with all that being into account, Rey's the only character that we know. Everything else is new. Planets are new. We just know the Jedi Order, Rey, and that's it. What kind of box office do you foresee?
I think it would be actually pretty good because at this point, Force Awakens is 11 years old at this point when this movie
God,
comes out.
what a
So
statement, James.
people who were, 10, 11, 12 years old are now going to be in their 20s watching this movie. That's a big generation of people who grew up with that. For them, that was their prequel trilogy. Like that was what they were watching when they were younger.
That's a great
That
point.
generation is going to be pretty big. It's going to be very popular. It's going to be very strong. So I think they would go out to the theater to watch the next chapter to see Rey. And I think that's going to surprise a lot of the that group, that group on YouTube who think Star Wars is dead and they think, Daisy Ridley was
But they
terrible
keep
and
on
Rey's a horrible.
watching it and keep on paying money.
Yeah, them. I know they're going to be very upset and they're going to be confused as to why the movie's making that much money. It's because the generation that grew up with it and loves it is going to go and watch it because they're going to be old enough. They're going to have money to go and see it. So, and plus, you and I are going to be there opening night to watch it too. So it's going to make a lot of money.
Hopefully, we'll be on the red carpet, James.
That'd be pretty great. And the red carpet is like right there.
I'm surprised you just don't go.
It's so crowded. Like it's
Well, you can just walk. You don't even have to drive, right?
No, you don't want to drive. No, you don't want to drive down there. Walking would be better, but it's so crowded. So many people, but they are taking care of the homeless situation there on Hollywood Boulevard. So coming home is not that bad if I were to walk. Pretty much is what I mean. But Sunset Boulevard is actually nicer than Hollywood Boulevard. But yeah. So that's going to be in 2026 December, and I think it's going to do pretty well. But if you add Finn to it, that's also going to be huge. Like if Finn is added to it, that's massive.
And then
if Oscar Isaac
of him being a Jedi,
yeah,
we'll get him as a Jedi.
Yeah, and then if Oscar Isaac is also involved somehow, because everyone's going to say, "Oh, this is just in the next chapter with the big three," and it's something we never got with the original, cast. After '83, that was it until 2015, which. And I know David's been saying for the longest time, it's like, they're still young. They're all these actors are still young. Utilize them because before you know it, they're going to be, Harrison Ford and, Mark Hamill's age.
Do you think that's going to be a factor with Disney, Lucasfilm, and they think back, oh man, all those years that passed where we could have had the original big three and stuff, and George Lucas decided to raise a family, not do Star Wars stuff, be behind the scenes, produce stuff. I mean, you have all your hats on, the producer hat, the president hat, the creative hat. It's like, yeah, you want to bring them back. Like you said, I didn't even think about the fact that the kids that saw it in 2015 that remember that vibe, remember the feeling, the hysteria, the hype at the theater, which they had never experienced before. I believe there's a certain part of those young people that are gonna want to kind of relive that and try and relive that.
Yeah, just like we
maybe
did
not as many people, but there's gonna be a certain amount, and it's like it's a Star Wars movie during Christmas. I mean,
and also how they promote it. Like if they promote this thing, like
the heck out of it.
Stupidly well, and they don't do the whole mystery box. Like they give us enough, but not spoiling it, but just enough really cool things like characters that were like, oh, who's this guy? Because it was so cool when the original when the prequels were coming out, when you would read something about a character and you'd be like, who's Seal Bibble? Like, who's this guy? And they would have and it would tell you who he was. They didn't hide it. They would be like, Rick Olay is the pilot, and you're like, oh, he's a pilot. I wonder where he comes into play and all this other stuff. So as I'm watching the Phantom Menace, I'm like, oh, there he is now. It was still fun. You know what I mean? Like it was still so much fun to watch that movie, even though I knew who a lot of the characters were going to be. So
you pronounce it Olay?
Did I say Ali or Uli?
You said Olay.
How is it?
I don't know. I always read it as Captain Ollie.
Man, you made me sound like I'm an
Rick
idiot. You made me think I said something wrong.
Oh, no.
I was like, what did I say?
I'm just thinking about the last name because I was like, how do you pronounce it? They never say it. It's one of those weird names. Like,
there's a lot of things in Star Wars they actually don't say that you have to read about.
Ewok.
Yeah, they never say the word Ewok. So
that's a Kenner creation. I don't know.
But yeah, it is wild to think that people who were 10 years old whenever Force Awakens came out are now going to be 21 when the new Star Wars movie comes out with Daisy Ridley. So
right.
They're all going to, even the teenagers are now going to be, in their in their 20s when this one comes out. So
right.
It's crazy.
So and James, you and I want you to tell me now what the Rey film is going to be.
it's really tricky because I don't know. It could go either one or two ways. The Sith are still around, or there's dark side users out in the galaxy, and the same way they did with the acolyte. With there's a whole other group that are studying the Force, but they are not Sith. Can now be introduced to it, and that's who Rey is trying to fight because now they know. Here it is. It just came in my head. The Empire and the Sith are no longer in this galaxy anymore. So this other rival dark side users come into this galaxy to fill in the void of where the Sith were. And it's up to Rey to fight them now because she knows what they could do, but they're not Sith, so their powers are going to be slightly different. And their powers, they're going to be able to use the Force in a way that she's not familiar with. And so it's going to be really cool, like her figuring out how to defeat these guys.
And how would they use the force that we're not familiar with?
I don't know.
How do you foresee?
Think about it. Think about it this way: from A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, Luke Skywalker, calls the lightsaber to him, and we were just like, oh, we've never seen the Force used that way. The prequels, he does a Force push. We were just like, I didn't know you could Force push it. So what I'm saying is like, there's another skill that we still don't know about, and maybe they use crazy magic when they fight. Like maybe they can multiply themselves, like in a room with her. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of thing she's up against.
So in Legends, there's a lot of force abilities. One that always springs up to me is battle meditation. It's when I believe a Jedi. Don't quote me on this, but a Jedi in battle can actually affect the minds of the other army that's going up against them. I forgot exactly what effect, but I remember reading that for Knights of the Old Republic, and I was like, "Wow, that's an interesting."
That sounds awesome.
Capability there, but this is what I think is going to happen in that Rey film.
All right, what you got?
So it's going to be 15 years later after the Rise of Skywalker. Rey is an established Jedi Master in a brand new Jedi Academy, but she is not the leader. There will be a leader over her who comes into play, who appears to be stronger, wiser, kind of omnipotent in a way. But that's our antagonist. That person who is this leader, who everyone is relying on, depending on, trusting in this new Jedi Academy, is actually not a good person. They're evil, and they're basically looking for the same old thing, power. And they see that they can have power because everyone listens to this person. I mean, it could be female, could be male, whatever. But I think it's going to come from within. You kind of least expect it. And this person is going to have a traditional lightsaber, green, blue, maybe purple. Purple might work the best because that's kind of like you're leaning kind of both ways sometimes. And I think that's the way the movies. I don't think they're going to have Sith there again. They're just going to have like a person that's within the order that is becoming on their way to become a dark side user. And maybe with like all the artifacts they've collected over these 15 years, there is like a Sith holocron. And that's how you lead into maybe like a sequel or an offshoot, something or other. That's what I think is going to happen.
That's pretty good. I like that too. Man, we don't know though. Man, we don't know anything about this. Like,
we have no idea what's going to happen.
We have no idea. But honestly, either one of these stories is pretty good for a Rey movie, I think. So, like I said, Disney, we're here. I mean, we will gladly write this next movie for you.
Yeah, and Star Wars is classic good versus evil. Roles are defined. I think you got to keep. Well, you could go vague, but of course, Grey Jedi is not a George Lucas concept for Star Wars. So, but I think eventually that's gonna pop up. It's gonna rear its head because I've heard other people within Star Wars mention that, and I'm thinking, you say that, and people are gonna jump on that and be like, okay, well, this person said so.
I was writing a fan fiction short story. I put it down, but I was writing a fan fiction short story about Finn going on his first mission as a Jedi to get an
Is that the story you
artifact.
sent to me, James?
What?
Is,
Yes. Did you
okay.
read it?
I haven't read it.
Oh, thank you.
I
No
read the
wonder why.
beginning. I think you sent me multiple stories. You sent me a story where it begins like in a wooded area.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Okay, that was a different story. Okay.
Yeah, that was a very long. I was still living in Texas when I sent you that one.
I don't think so. This was like you were in California. Maybe you thought you sent it to me and you sent it to other people.
But no, this one is it's Finn going on his first mission. Rey sends him on a mission, so he's flying with Chewie to this new planet, and they get there, and then he goes through this thing, and then they open up the case, and it's Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber from A New Hope. Just Vader had it with him when the Death Star blew up. Vader had it with him. He put it somewhere safe, and now this lightsaber's been just moved around. And Rey wants it because now Rey has the ability where she can touch something and she could see it, and she wants more training. She wants some of that wisdom that Obi-Wan Kenobi had. And so that was a short story that I was working on. I haven't finished it yet, and
I think you're onto something there, James. Because
I think I am
McGregor
too.
back.
I'm not gonna lie. I know I'm onto something. It's
and
just
you could cross the prequel with the sequel era. Oh my gosh!
Yeah. See,
You're welcome, Lucasfilm.
see. You know what? Nobody take that idea. All right, come on. I mean,
So yeah. I mean,
you heard it here on this podcast. Don't even try.
you got to when you come up with cool ideas, cool scenarios, ways to bring characters together that otherwise you think impossible. There's always a way. That's what the title of this podcast needs to be. There's always a way.
Always a way.
Dash Ian Malcolm. Yeah.
Life finds a way.
Life
But,
always finds a way.
But yeah, I that was the story that I had, and I was like, I think this would be actually pretty cool. And then in doing that, then now Obi-Wan Kenobi could start speaking to her a lot more freely now through the Force. Now she can start to. She can't see him, but she can speak to Obi-Wan Kenobi now, as well. And I feel like that's one thing that I think like that's all. I hate to say it, but that's what we're gonna want to see. We're gonna want to see Rey talking to Leia. We're gonna want to see Rey talking to Luke. You know, like. We want to see that happening.
Maybe Rey talking to Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, see? I mean, come on. I mean, but what's so strange though was we didn't get that in the original trilogy. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, we were all okay with the fact that they're not, I don't know what I'm trying to say. All I know is,
Right.
I think it'd be pretty
Because
cool.
we've all thought about the rules of Force Ghosts. You'd
Yes.
have to met that person, known that person in real life to see their ghost. But the world between worlds stuff exists. Don't we hear? I know we hear Adam Driver's voice, but do we hear Daisy Ridley's voice in that sequence in one of the Rebels?
Oh yeah, you hear her.
Okay, and she is part of a powerful dyad.
Yeah.
So those can be new rules.
And you know what? A lot of people forget. And so you know how at the end of the Rise of Skywalker, everybody had this idea of all the Jedi showing up and being behind Rey as Force Ghost, like helping her out and everything. From what we understand, there's only one other Jedi. Yoda tells Obi-Wan there's only one Jedi who figured this out. And it was Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon passed it on to Yoda. Yoda passed it on to Obi-Wan. And then they're the only ones who really know about this thing.
Yeah, but there's ways around that, James.
I thought I was onto something there. I thought I was like,
right. I understand.
Who we see now as Force Ghosts are going to be people who have learned from Qui-Gon, but there is a catch. How did Anakin know about that?
Exactly.
So that one doesn't always work.
Is it because he's a chosen one? He just gets all the rights and privileges of.
Yeah, he maxed out already. You know what I mean? Like everyone else is trying to get up there. He was like, I got all the perks. I'm the highest level on Patreon right now. I got all the perks. Everything you get in stages, I get the whole thing. So that's how he learned. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, I think we had some great ideas.
This is what I think about all the time. This is
We're just inside James's
Yeah, I'm
Pretty deal.
always thinking about stories for Star Wars and stories for other things, and I just don't write them. I should probably write them. The more I'm talking about this, the more I'm like, these are pretty good ideas. I should just write these things down.
Yeah, I mean that is a big fandom question. What happened to Obi-Wan's lightsaber from
Yeah,
Episode 4? And it'd be cool if, I mean, it'd kind of be retreading the whole find a lightsaber and that type of thing.
but this is a
But
lightsaber. This is a different
you'd
lightsaber,
understand.
though. If you understand, this is a different one.
No, no, no,
But
no, no.
no,
This is Obi-Wan's
I
lightsaber.
I even wrote this thing in there wherever he got hurt, um, in The Force Awakens, and he was in his coma, that he actually hears Rey, but he can't speak to her. And then he ends up somewhere else. And like I had this whole vision for him, and he hears a voice, and it's Yoda speaking to him. Yoda is talking to him, saying, "This, you're gonna go back, and you're gonna be trained by somebody, and this and that." He's like, "You've always felt something your whole life, and you just never knew what it was, but it's gonna awaken in you." Like that's Yoda talking to Finn, and Finn's like, "That's the whole. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know this." And the Yoda's telling him like it's all gonna work out. You're gonna be trained by somebody. He says who, and then Yoda says the name, and then that's when Finn wakes up in The Last Jedi going, "Rey!" And that's why he was yelling her name. It's because Yoda told him that she was going to be important. So in The Last Jedi, his whole purpose is to get Rey away from everybody. He just wants to save Rey because he knows that she's that important. So I wrote that into my short story, and you're welcome, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
So yeah. Maybe I'll finish these and I'll release them and y'all can read them. I don't know.
The James fan fiction.
You say it sounds weird when you say it like that.
James Herrera fanfic. Yeah, I mean, you never know. It might make its way to people at Lucasfilm.
Yeah, I know
And then they're
people
like,
who
where does this guy live? Oh, he lives in Hollywood? Oh, maybe we should invite him to the red carpet. Oh, he has a podcast? What's the name of it? Star Wars stuff? Oh, I think I've heard of that.
and you're like making me think that this is gonna happen. Like this is actually gonna happen.
Well, I mean, the longer the podcast goes, the longer and more connected we get to certain peoples.
That is very true. Very true.
So, yeah, I think the goal for Japan is getting a podcast panel and
That'd be great.
getting in there. And as of right now, Albert from Cantina Cast said that he would like to join us. His entire podcast isn't going; it's just him.
Mm,
So we might have him if we do get selected. I mean, that'd be great.
that would be great.
And get on stage and finally do a Star Wars Celebration panel. I mean, it's for me doing a panel at Celebration. It's kind of one of those things like, okay, how do you get bigger than this? I don't think you get bigger than that as a Star Wars podcast. Saying
Yeah,
that you
true.
had a panel at Star Wars Celebration, and it's like, where do you go from there? You know. But yeah, for me personally, going to San Diego Comic Con and being at Hall H, being that close to the big presentations, and looking upon Hall H and everyone sitting there, I was like, man, if this is possible, what else is possible? You know. And then thinking about the Star Wars Stuff podcast, and it's like, we totally can do this. I mean,
Yeah.
we can do a lot of incredible things. It just takes the effort, and I don't know whatever can transpire to get that done. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But if it doesn't happen, that's okay too, because everyone out there that supports us and listens to us, there's a lot of you guys all over the world, and
We
really
appreciate it.
appreciate it. We thank you guys. All the comments, all the reviews, all the stars, all the support on Patreon. It's always been tremendous and gives me motivation to keep on going. I'm not quite sure if we'd still be doing the podcast if we didn't have that motivation.
Yeah, true.
Everyone that actually listens.
Oh, and
But I'm pretty sure me and James would still talk to each other about
Yeah.
Star Wars and stuff. But
and before we end this thing, you and I met 7 years ago today.
ooh,
Do you have the picture? Do you have it ready? Please say yes.
no, I don't have the picture.
Oh man, I think
Maybe
I have
can
it. Hold
Find
on.
it. Maybe I can find it right
It
quick.
came up in my time hop today, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" It's like, look at this picture. So yeah, this was at Force Friday for The Last Jedi. They released all the Last Jedi merch and everything, and my wife and I went there, and that's when I met David, and that's when we got this picture. Jeez, I took a lot of pictures since then. Oh my gosh, sorry everybody, we should have been ready, but we were not ready.
Yeah, I'm looking through all my pictures. I don't.
Oh, here's the giant porg they were giving away.
I really wanted that thing.
I really wanted that porg so bad. And then this is literally the moment David is showing me the picture that he took at Celebration. So that was like the first time we ever
and I
really
have R2D2 on the back of my phone.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember that.
It's one of those like car stickers when you have like a
Oh,
family.
I see, yeah. And I thought you and I took a picture. I don't know where that one is.
Or maybe Han, and then the wife is Leia.
Yeah.
Would make sense if the husband was Luke, but
yeah. But yeah, 7 years ago today we met.
wow,
that's wild.
It like simultaneously feels like not that long ago and long ago.
It does feel long ago.
It's weird.
I don't like it.
But doesn't it feel like we've been friends for longer somehow?
Man, you're gonna make me cry right now. Come on, man. We're recording a podcast, right? I'm just joking. Yeah, it does. It really does feel like I've known you for many years. Longer than 7 years.
It's a weird thing because I think we're just like connected to Star Wars.
Yeah.
In that very specific way.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
But it's true. But yeah, so this podcast was quote unquote born on this night a year ago. Or 7 years ago.
Well, we met on this night.
Okay, fair enough. There was no talk of any podcast. Yeah, we just texted each other.
Think about doing a podcast because I had done a podcast before and it just like crumbled. And I didn't have any of the equipment. I just had a basic computer. And my buddy was the one trying to record and get it all together and stuff, and he just like kind of quit. So, yeah. 7 years ago, James trusted a complete stranger to come over to his place.
Yep. But what's crazy is we met 7 years ago today, but we didn't record the first episode until March of the next year.
Right, because we kept on like texting each other.
Yeah.
So 7 years ago today, you gave a complete stranger your phone number.
Yes, that is true. I did give a complete stranger my phone number, and then we just started texting about Star Wars after that.
So yeah, I mean, I was looking. So we were in line for Force Friday for The Last Jedi, and I was looking for that Celebration feel where you turn around and you can talk to a new friend about Star Wars. I turned around and I started talking to this one guy, and he wasn't having it. And I'm like, okay, next guy. And it was James.
Yep.
Didn't take too long to find James.
Oh, man, that was such a great era, great moment, that whole thing.
Yeah. Go, like, merchandise, going to Target late at night. It was weird because it was closed. Like, quasi-closed, but they let us in because
oh, my gosh. Do you remember Force Friday from The Force Awakens, and the Target's the conveyor belt had like something Star Wars on the conveyor belt.
Yeah, man, they went all out, man.
They went all out for that, man. Oh, it was so cool. It was such a great moment.
And there's a lot of people at that Target. Did you go to that New Braunfels Target?
Yeah. For Force Awakens?
Yeah.
Wait, we've never talked about this? Were you there too?
Yeah.
My wife's over there. That's why I looked at her. Wait, you were there at the Force Awakens?
I was there too.
Well, how come we've never talked about this? The fact that we should have met that night when the Force Awakens came.
Well, because there was like 200 people.
There was a lot of people there for that one. That was crazy.
Was your wife there?
Yeah.
Because I didn't notice any females, man. It was a
She
bunch
was
of big,
there.
sweaty guys.
Yeah. And I remember like the first few guys went through and they just stuck their hand behind the whole row of toys and just went just all in their basket. I was like, you sons of bitch. I was so mad because when I came down the aisle, I was like, but the only thing I was looking for was that the BB-8 toy. And I didn't know that that wasn't out yet, the Sphero BB-8
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
toy. So I bought the crappy Target one and I ended up taking it back because it was really bad. But like that's what I was
I
focused on, was
bought it
getting
and I
that
still
BB-8.
own it.
What was that?
I bought it and I still own it, James.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I hated that thing.
I
But
was
yeah, I
thinking
remember
about taking it back, but
I was obsessed with Kylo Ren and BB-8. That whole like that was my purpose of that trip, was getting a Kylo Ren. And then the shirt that said The Force Awakens. It was it was huge. It was such a great moment because it was like this is actually happening. Like I'm looking at Star Wars toys right now, and
yeah.
that's coming up 9 years this year. That's gonna be 9 years ago The Force Awakens came out. So time, man, just keeps going, man. Keep going.
Time's flying, buddy.
But speaking of
Pretty
time
soon.
flying, I think
Pretty
I gotta.
soon.
What's
Yeah,
up?
well, I said pretty soon we'll be talking about the 50th anniversary of Star Wars in 2027.
That's
And
gonna hurt.
revealing it's probably going to be in Anaheim, so you're
Oh
probably not going to
yeah.
have to fly anywhere.
Mm,
And maybe they'll have all the panels at the Honda Center like they did for D23,
that'd be
where they
great.
can fit like 8,000 people in there. Or maybe
Mm.
more, maybe like 14,000.
And
I think
I'll
that
still
arena sits like 18,000,
yeah.
and you got to cut like maybe a third of that. So what's 18 divided by 3?
That's a great question. 6. 6.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. So about 12,000-ish people.
Bender said, I remember going to my grandma's and turning on the TV and Force Awakens was playing, and that was Start of the Obsession. Oh, that's so great. Oh man. That first trailer dropping. Oh jeez. Then that anniversary is 10 years this year. This November will be 10 years when we got that
Black Friday.
Black Friday. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
That was just perfect.
Hearing the Falcon again on
The
the movie theater speakers.
Oh my god, it was. I know we keep talking about that moment, but everybody, it was so great. It was so great. You hear Andy Serkis, you see the lightsaber, and then the Falcon just and and then the TIE fighters fly. And I was like, oh, it's back. Star Wars is back. It's not a trick. So yeah. Good times, man. Good times.
Are we ever gonna feel those feels again, James?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I really hope so.
Maybe that's a topic for another podcast. But
yeah,
that is it for this edition. Thank you, everyone, especially
yes, thank
Bender
you so
and
much.
Chat, for joining us and contributing to the podcast. You can always find us on Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Pod, Twitter at Stuff Pod, Threads at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Support us on Patreon at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. We're on TikTok. You can email the show, and I think we have got some emails. I haven't been able to get to them because my mouse isn't working for some reason now. Oh, there it is. Yeah, we get a lot. Okay, so don't tell anyone this, but we have a public email address, so we get a lot of random stuff.
Oh, okay.
We get, oh, you've won a new lawnmower.
Oh my gosh, all my hopes and dreams.
It's like, you've won 20 pounds of dog food. Come and claim it. That type of thing. So yeah, we have mostly that, and then once in a while we get an email from a listener. Facebook, Star Wars Stuff group, and Star Wars Stuff podcast page. And give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you have the time. And to everyone that's already done it, thank you so much. It means a lot. You see all the balloons in James's room. Thank you so much. And we also have a website that you guys have helped pay for, and we just need to contribute more to it. I'm probably going to do that this weekend. I'm writing an article about our visiting with Katie Sackhoff at
nice.
Superhero Comic-Con. And James probably needs to write a little portion of it. Or maybe I'll just paraphrase what he talked about. Or
yeah.
I wasn't there. It's just him and Katie Sackhoff alone behind a curtain.
What's funny is that's what happened, but it just sounds so terrible when you say it like that.
So yeah, my MacBook is lagging right now.
Okay.
I need to get it worked on because this is my podcast laptop. But thank you so much to everyone out there. We really do appreciate you guys. And go to SpaceCon in October. You'll see me, Colin, Zach, James, Wookiees, Leia's, maybe some Huts. I don't know. You never know.
That'd be crazy.
That would be crazy. So, for James, my name's David. May the force be with you.
Always. Go.